Okay, um, I wanted to put this up this morning because I want to talk about the sole. And I want to show you this trim I did recently on this little Arab horse that I've been doing for a while. Yeah, well, I don't need my computer backed up, so let's just block out of you. Okay, let me go. I'm trying to find out. I got a picture of him here somewhere. Just a second. Let me move this thing. Well, let's reverse it. How do you do that? I guess, oh, right there. Okay. Oh, here he is. He's a little Arab horse that I do. I've been doing for about a year and 2 months. And you can see he's not a very big horse, and he had very long toes and kind of a flat foot when I first started him. But I want to show you his sole and some interesting things so you can understand more about the sole. And I want to go into, I did it, well, first let me tell you, I did a video already where I trimmed that one cadaver foot I have, but I haven't put it on yet because I really feel that people need to understand more about hoof distortion, more about the sole, because we've had a couple incidences where people thought they had thick sole when they had super thin sole, and then they took sole out at the wrong time that was not exfoliatable sole. And so we're going to talk about sole and how to tell how thick your horse's sole is and what's going on there, so that people, when they go to trim, aren't taking a very flat-footed, very thin-soled horse and rasping into the sole. Now, sometimes you have to do that in the toe and in the pillars because that sole is stretched way far forward of where it should be anyway, and it's not under the foot, so you're not really taking anything bad away. You're actually helping the horse, but there's other times when that sole, it's just the horse is flat-footed and has very, very little sole due to distortions in the hoof wall. And so we're just going to talk about sole, and I wanted to show you this particular horse's feet and the other horse that I trim with him, because he has developed this tremendous amount of sole, and he's got almost now perfect feet. So we're going to take a look at him here. Let's reduce again. Yeah, I took a lot of pictures because his feet were just pretty awesome. Let's see. Okay, so in this picture, it's been about 5 months since I trimmed him. Just didn't get over there, didn't get him trimmed. And you can see that he's got a really nice strong dorsal wall. Now, the wall used to be out. Let's see. I wonder. Let me get a marker here. Screen draw. Okay. Well, let's try this. Okay, his walls used to be out like this. Okay, now when the horse's wall is out like that, or they'll either go like that, or they might be connected a little bit down like this and then go like that. Okay, the sole that we're going to look at, that sole that hooks to the rim right here, gets, and that should be under the coffin bone right here, gets stretched forward like this. So since the sole tubules grow down straight in here at a certain angle connected to the wall right about here, well, since that happens, it's early. Since the wall gets stretched forward like so, okay, and it's connected to the sole right here, it stretches the sole forward like that. Now look, see that angle? That would be thickness of sole. Okay, let's say that's all the thicker a sole gets. Okay, if my sole is like this, or supposed to be growing like that, it's going to be that thick. But if the toe stretches it forward, it's going to get thinner and thinner and thinner. Do you see how that works? So when you bring that toe, when you're bringing this toe back up here by doing a rocker, finding the correct breakover, and doing a rocker toe, then that sole, as the wall grows down up here, more connected, it's growing down because you're keeping the breakover back. It's growing down, sorry about all these arrows, and it's moving back like this. It's bringing this sole back under here, and the horn and the sole also is coming back with it and growing more like this. So your sole is going to be growing like this instead of like that. And this happens not just in the toe, but also in the pillars right here. Also in the pillars. And so, you know, we have to, the pillars are a big culprit. A big culprit of people not getting a good foot. And we're going to go through that, how this is a big culprit. And so I want to show you this horse's sole so that you can learn to recognize good sole and when a horse has sole. You know, chances are if your horse has flattish feet with no concavity, you haven't got hardly any sole at all. Because ultimately what you want is you want a ridge, you'll see it, this big ridge of sole around the whole perimeter of the foot. When any of this wall, these horn tubules like this, the horn tubule starts here, it grows down, it connects with the sole here, and then they travel down to the ground together. That place where it connects to the sole, where the horn tubule on the very inner, they're all grouped together here, where they connect to the sole right here, that always stays constant. So it doesn't matter if it's in the toe, the pillar, the quarters. If this horn tubule here, like if the heels and quarters get laid forward and the horn tubule's growing like this, it takes that piece of sole right here and it also shoves it at an odd angle to where the sole around the rim here, sorry about all these arrows, is growing forward as well and thinned out. Now you're going to see a good foot here, what has become a good foot. So I don't know why I've got two of these. One with 8. I don't know where this one came from. Okay. Let's pop. Okay, so again, you see that it's been quite a while since I trimmed this horse. See, and he was kind of starting to try to self-trim here. Right here is, right here is where his sole is. So he had a lot of excess growth here. Aha, I found out how to take that drawing off. He was starting to self-trim on both feet. Okay, now we're going to start looking at pictures of the sole. Let me find a good picture here. Okay, now this is what I want you to see. How when you start getting a good foot and the wall grows long, that sole a lot of times will go right up this wall. Let's see. That sole, now here's the underside of his coffin bone right here. This is all sole ridge going up like this. Now you can see here how it's attached right up to the wall and goes up like that, right? But yet you saw on the picture before, just a minute, you saw on the picture before how the walls were very long. Isn't that right? See? Yet that sole will attach to the wall and grow right with it, and sometimes get very thick when you're getting a good foot. And so this is why, after I got to thinking about the wild horse research that Gene Ovanik did, I don't know why that is there. And anyway, I got to thinking about the wild horse research Gene Ovanik did and how they measured the dorsal wall. That is, on all those wild horses, they measured the wall from here to here. And they found that even on the biggest horses, the wall was only 3¼ inches. Now his walls, naturally, where his sole end are about 2 3/4 to 3 inches, right about here. And so I started measuring, besides just doing the mapping on the bottom of the foot to find breakover and all that, I started measuring these dorsal walls. And I found that due to the fact that I was getting toe sole in here, that slowly, because I wasn't taking out the sole correctly, because when you do start really getting a lot of sole, you have to keep an eye on it, because that sole will attach to the wall here and just get thicker and thicker. And so your dorsal wall that should be this long, well, it'll get this long, and then the next time it'll get this long, and then this long, and then this long, and pretty soon you've got all this thick sole in the toe that you should have taken out that you're not taking out. Now again, you need to really know when you have this sole and when you don't. Okay? And a lot of times we're really going to go through this so you understand when a horse has thick sole and when he doesn't, so you're not digging on live sole on a thin-soled horse. Okay? Okay, so now that I know how to do that, that's awesome. Okay, so see, here you can really see the sole tubules. You see the cupping in the foot here? Okay, here you can really see the lines of the sole tubules. Do you see those lines there? This is awesome. You can really see how the sole is growing up from here, down here. It's connected to this wall here, and it's just growing up from here. This is the inside of the toe. This is the angle of it. This is not flat. Okay, well, you'll see here as we go. See what I mean? See how that just goes right up? That sole is just connected with this right here, and it just traveled right with that wall. It's stuck with that wall. You see that? And you can see the other places where it didn't. Right here, where the wall is still sticking up above the sole. And see what happens is, people go to trim, and they'll see this wall that sticks up above the sole here, and they might trim that down. But see right here at the pillar, it starts sticking to the wall and growing up with the wall. Do you see that? And so they might trim this wall off here, but they've been told by these barefoot methods, oh, don't ever trim the pillar. And they've been told, don't ever trim the toe callus. So this area, and this area here hardly ever gets trimmed. Do you see that? Plus, what you'll notice is, look how much he's worn out of the sole on this side and how much wall is sticking up. But yet there's not hardly as much wall sticking up here. So what happens is people come along, they trim this around up to there, and then they'll trim more over here because it's worn off. And once you get this cleaned up, excuse me, once you get this cleaned up in here, you'll find that it looks like real nice, pretty sole in the toe. And so you think you're getting a toe callus. And they wind up leaving all this long, and it creates a dorsal wall that's way too long, too high, because you can have a real steep foot that's still too long. Maybe it isn't too long from here to here, okay, but it's high from up here, oh, get out, from here to here. See the difference? You got length from here to here, but you also have high from here into here. Okay, so let us move you somewhere. Let's move you up here, out of the way. Okay. Pretty soon you're going to see, okay, all right, right here, I've made some marks. I've cleaned up the apex of my frog. Do you see that? When I talk about how you need to clean up the foot and kind of clean up the sole, you notice I haven't removed all the exfoliatable sole yet or nothing, but I've cleaned up my frog already. I cleaned out the central sulcus here, trimmed up the sides, because right in here is where it gets thrushy, and I just trimmed down the apex of my frog to find the true apex. And the true apex is rounded here, and it's where the sole and the frog join together. So when I begin my trims, I clean out the foot, and that's the first thing I do. I find the true apex of the frog, and we're gonna go through different ways to do that, because sometimes, and I'll show you how when a toe gets stretched, let's see, when a toe gets stretched way forward up here. Now this one isn't, but when it gets stretched way forward, a lot of times where the frog and sole join together, all this whole area as well will get stretched way forward. See? Now now wait a minute. Let me get rid of that. Okay, we'll go into more reasons about that. But finding the true apex of your frog and the base of your frog is very important. Do you see where I've done that? The base or the dimple right here. Usually you have a little flap of periopal skin. It's going to be right there. There's going to be a little dimple here, and then the end of your periopal skin. Okay, now you can see here I made this mark not because that's where I'm going to cut the foot, okay, like shorten it as in a rocker or something, but I have looked down the foot, and this is where the sole has all connected with the wall and grown high. I'll show you what I mean by that. Okay, there's the dimple that I marked of the frog, the base of the frog. Do you see that? See, if we're to go over here to this periopal skin, it's right along there. That's showing me the length of my frog, what I did there. Which then you divide in half, because the foot is supposed to be 2/3 of the foot behind the apex of the frog and 1/3 in front of the apex of the frog. So that tells me where to mark my toe to see how long my toe is. But again, this frog, if you got a real long toe that's stretched forward, it can be stretched forward with it. And you don't want to dig it out because everything is stretched and connected. You know, as you bring a toe back, it will recede. Okay, here in this picture, now you get an idea of how that sole has grown up with the wall here as the wall has gotten long, don't you? See that? See that big dishing there? Okay. I wanted to get some really good pictures of this. Again, this is not my breakover line right here. I just put this mark here. My breakover line is right here. This horse's feet are like the perfect ratio here. 2/3, 1/3. I put this line here so you could see how much extra sole has grown with the wall and connected to it. Okay? Now when people keep horses trimmed, this horse wasn't trimmed for, like I say, 5 months or so. When people keep horses trimmed and keep this white line all nice and pretty and everything like that, this still happens. Gradually, slowly, the toe gets higher, higher with sole connected to it, and it creates a real, what you call, I believe, a dorsal palmar imbalance, front to back, you know, to where the toe gets higher and higher and higher, and then you get a negative, what you call a negative palmar angle, where the toe of the coffin bone is sitting up higher than the rear. Okay, because some horses really retain a lot of sole, and the sole will really grow in this toe, and you'll see they'll keep a nice clean white line. You won't have separation like this, and their toe just gets higher from here to here, just keeps getting higher and higher and higher to where they have a really long dorsal wall, and they're really being set back. It's just growing and growing because a lot of farriers do not know how to take this sole out, and barefoot trimmers definitely most of the time never take this sole out in the toe because they don't want to touch the toe callus. Okay, there's another picture of it. Here you can see it. See how I look down? Okay, do you see how this is grown high here? Sole attached to the wall going up. Okay, now a bunch of things came together for me. Hope I'm recording. On how I needed to keep track of these dorsal walls. One, I was seeing sole connected to the wall like this, getting higher and higher. I have two different kinds of horses of my own. One that does not retain any sole. One, Molly, that just retains all kinds of sole. She just doesn't retain it in the sole in the toe. She retains it everywhere. When the walls grow long, she always has very thick white sole that looks just like all her other sole. And so her foot could grow. Let's see here. Her foot can grow from here to here and retain that much sole underneath it. And so horses, they have different ways. Some don't retain any. Some retain some in the toe here. And some will retain it just in the heels, you know, and some will retain it all the way around. You know, that foot could get that high, that long, and it'd just be thickly filled up with sole. And but it's not live sole, because the live sole is right about here. Okay, that is where your live sole is, right in here, between here and here. And, and then you get a little exfoliatable sole. Okay, if you have any in any of the foot that is more than what it's supposed to be, if that horse is retaining sole anywhere in here, it's going to create an imbalance because slowly, let me get out of here. Okay, slowly, what can happen is, let's say the horse retains sole in the toe. Slowly, let's say you that's the wrong thing. Slowly, you're letting this toe get longer. Let's say you get a little imbalance right here because this toe is filling up with sole or something. Okay, slowly, you're going to have wall here that's a little bit longer over here than here, but what'll happen is that because it's longer over here, this wall, because it has pressure on it, this wall is going to jam up here, and you're going to have, like, instead of a nice even line like I got here, it's going to go up like this, your wall. And down under here, though, you've got retained sole that is pushing. Let's say this is your coffin bone right here, okay? And you got sole under here that's higher. It's going to push up on one side of the coffin bone and tilt it in the toe right here. You're going to see that the horse will wear his foot off more over on this side, but when you turn that foot around, if you were to take an x-ray, you're going to have an imbalance because it tips the foot in the back as well when you tip up one side here. Okay. You could take a koozie and actually do experiments on how leaving one side high, how that affects the rear. Okay, now you will notice I have made lines on the foot here. Okay, now in the wild horse hoof research as I said, they measured the dorsal walls. Now there was two things that I was seeing that were getting away from me. One was the length of the dorsal wall from here to here, and as well the length of the pillars from here to here. A lot of times the pillars would be like this, even with the dorsal wall. Do you see that? Okay, that is, or even longer. And yet the foot looked seemingly round. Okay, so trying to put all this together for you. Okay, between the combination of getting lots of sole in the toe, realizing that the dorsal wall was getting longer than it should be because of what the research was on the wild horse, and there's some really big horses out there, and I had some real small horses with walls that were just too long, quite a bit longer than this, even the longest for the wild horse, because they have very short, compact hoof capsule. Okay, and looking at the foot from the front in a lot of my pictures and looking at the intertubular horn lines that run like this, remember you got a grid on your foot, right? You have the horn tubules that grow down like this, but you also have that intertubular horn that keeps it together, that grows down, and it creates these lines. So you have a grid you're looking at, right? And I was noticing that up here at the hairline, it go up like this, and these lines coming around like this would go like that. See? So I knew I was getting my pillar long down here, and it was shoving upwards. And so there was a bunch of odds and ends that just clicked and fit together. And so that is why since I had these cadaver feet, I started measuring around the toe of the coffin bone and really looking at it and seeing how it was shaped. And that is why I kind of come up with the system to where I started measuring the wall from the hairline to the ground. Now, I'm doing it because this horse's frog is 2 3/4 inches long, and so This is just these are not written in stone measurements. Okay, it's just a theory I'm working on. I'm even afraid to say it, but his frogs are 2 3/4 inches long. And so I just come up with the theory one day, maybe the dorsal wall is as long as the frog. I don't know why I came up with that. It was just an idea. So I thought I'd start testing it out. And it's coming pretty close to being true, except that I feel I was taking a couple horses a little too short. They were tender. And so, although they quit being tender, and as I trimmed them, with each trim got successively better. So I don't know about that. But anyway, because of that, I added another 1/4 of an inch. So his wall here, I put down to 3 inches. And actually, I could probably made it 3 1/4 on him. And so, but eventually he ain't a very big horse. Okay, you don't want to retain a whole bunch of sole in that toe and set them on a negative Palmer angle. Okay, so what I do, because I want to get not only the toe dorsal wall length right, okay, and a horse has to grow into this, because if your horse's foot is way stretched forward like this, okay, I'm not sure exactly how that's going to work. You know, most of the horses I've been doing for a while, and so their toes are pretty backed up already. But this still applies. Okay, so to a degree. All right, so I measure from the hairline down. On him I did 3 inches. But over here at the pillar, because of the shape of the foot, because the shape of the internal foot is like this, it doesn't go like this. If we were to take this hoof capsule off, we'd see that inner foot going like this. See? Well, maybe not quite that much. So then I go over here to the pillar, where the pillar starts, about 3/4 of an inch, about 3/4 of an inch this way, and I do another line, but I make it 1/4 of an inch shorter. See there? And I do this on both sides, 1/4 of an inch shorter. And then if you look, once you do that, you'll see where the growth line. Now what I did here, I just followed the growth line around the foot. Okay, this gives me an idea of when I'm rasping from the bottom and combining it with the Mustang roll of about where my foot should end. Do you see that? Now this horse has sole clear down to here. But you're going to see how he still has a lot of sole. His internal foot is up in here. Right here. So the wall is joined up with the sole about here, growing down to here. This is all excess wall and sole in the toe. Okay, here you can see where I marked it better. Again, I made the center of the wall 3 inches to there, and then this on the pillar, I made it 2 3/4, so that just this line here coming around the pillar was a little shorter. Because these pillars have become a real culprit in hoof distortion. And I'm going through old pictures now and pictures of people on the group and seeing where if they just would have brought that pillar down, their feet would have straightened right up, and even a lot of laminitis cases would have straightened up. This pillar becomes just that, a pillar that just sticks into the ground, that just grows forward here and wedges into the ground right here, and it keeps the heels and the quarters from moving back if the horn tubules are run forward. And this dorsal wall, if it ain't got a perfect good connection in here, this pillar's going to keep it, it's going to wedge it forward so that it never grows down correctly fitted to this internal wall here, because we're not following the shape of the foot. Pillars are not as long as the toe, neither are they longer, and you will see that a lot of times even they will be longer, and we're talking about from here to the ground all the way around the horn tubules here. Okay, a correct foot starts receding a little bit here at the hairline. Now this one does, but it don't look like it right here. And then it starts going up like this. You know, these horn tubules are not the same length. They're longest in the toe, but then they should be receding. And once you understand this and you start looking at feet and you look at your horse's feet, you're going to be going, oh my goodness. Okay, but we don't just make a bevel from the top to make it look like that. You have to take off the sole from the bottom in here to get this correct shape. Otherwise, you still have the same thing. Boy, this is looking like a mess. You have to rasp it down from the bottom to get this shape, the correct shape. You can't just round it off in what looks to be a Mustang roll, because you're really you're not changing it. It has to be rasped down from the bottom to follow the line, going around the foot here. Because what's happening is it's growing down here, it's retaining sole under here and getting longer as well. And the sole can either be directly under it or forward of it. Okay, now as I said, you have to know, do you have a horse that has a lot of sole and retains sole? Or do you have a horse that is flat-footed with thin to no sole? Well, this is the side of the wall of that sole. It's almost straight up and down, growing with the wall. Okay, this is not flat. One way you know is that the apex of the frog is set very deep in the foot, and you will have a lot of cupping. Okay? We'll go into that more because I really want people to understand that, because again, a lot of times people are taking out a bunch of sole on the bottom of the foot when they should not be, because there's no sole there to take out. Alright, and that doesn't mean you still don't take it out in the toe if you're bringing your toe back, because your toe is very stretched forward to get the break over back. Break over is where the horse, as his foot is breaking over at a walk, is the toe length. If it's too long, it creates leverage on the wall, between the wall and the inner foot, and it just stretches forward and stretches forward, like if you were wearing a pair of shoes that were, 2 or 3 sizes too big. How would your foot break over in the toe? Now, this is where I took this picture because I wanted to show you how I'm starting to take the sole out of the toe. Do you see that? I've taken my hoof knife, which is very sharp, and see, I scribed a line where I wanted to take this out. And I'm going to take this out all the way around here. Now again, look how deep, look how thick this frog is. This frog is very thick, very good frog. Okay, and it's set very deep in the toe here. So you know, because the sole goes straight up the wall, you know, I got a thumb's width of sole from the bottom to the top here. I've got all kinds of sole, thick sole growing around here, and you see how it connected to the wall and grew with it. So can you see how there's only a certain amount that this horse is supposed to maintain? Like if he was out in the wild, he would have constantly worn this off right here, and it would have maintained a certain shape and a certain thickness going around the toe and the pillar. See how it's all in. Look at this pillar. I want you to look at this. See how this sole has stuck to the pillar right here? Okay, it'll, you know, and I'll tell you right now that in the pillars, when the sole is right, is where the sole will be the thickest. But that's only when the sole is right. You can have very thin sole here as well if the pillar is stretched forward up here. Let me explain this. Let me get a drawing tool. Okay. See how this goes around like this. Okay, first of all, you need to know that toes are not round. They're not round in the back feet, and they're not round in the front feet. They are oval. They have this shape. Like, looking here at this now, okay, if I was going to mark this, you see my little pink lines here? Okay, if I was going to mark this, I would have marked it like this. And my scribe line would have taken out this section here, as well as right here, which I wound up doing. But do you see how if the foot is shaped like this, more oval, and like it's more ovalish in the sides here, how if this sole connects to this pillar area here, here's your pillar, and you don't take it out, that it's going to all fill in, and pretty soon you have a foot that's like this. Do you see that? And it looks like the true foot to you, because all this sole here in this pillar has stretched forward and made this foot into an unnatural shape. Because we've been hearing, well, the toe is round, but if you look at the internal foot, the toe is not round. The toe is, you know, our toes are not round. Our toes are oval. Horses' feet are oval. Like that. This wall grows out, and it's hidden behind a tight white line. That could almost be the hairline, and we're looking down the foot. See? Okay, so let's get out of there. Go on to the next page. But again, this is thick sole that has grown up with the wall here. Do you see that? Ultimately, what you want is you want this ridge of sole that is the same thickness around the whole perimeter of the foot, and we'll see that. Let's see. Okay, now I want you to look at this. Look at how thick that sole is right there. See, and attached to the wall. Look at it up here where it's really attached to the wall. Really wanted to take good pictures to give you a chance to look at how deep this is here. See, it's not flat. You haven't got a flat foot going out here. This is very, very cupped. There again, you can see where I scribed off sole along the wall here. Look at that big chunk of sole that stayed right here. I think that's even, that's on the side of the toe, right towards the pillar area. This is how our pillars get high and forward and all out of shape and wind up holding our foot in a state of distortion that will not change. Okay. That is in the pillar, right there in the pillar. You see that? Okay, now here's where I've taken my knife and not digging it with the, I mean, part of it is digging it with the tip, taking off slices of that sole, but part of it is coming around with the side of my knife so that I haven't got, like right here I got gouge marks. You see that? You don't want to gouge the sole. In some places it's hard not to because it's hard to get your knife in there, but you want to use the flat side of your knife. You know, but see how nicely I scribed that out? See, I did that because I'm going to take my nippers, and I'm going to go around here, I'm going to cut this wall off. But what I want you to notice, now, this is not flat, and again, if you have a flat foot, and you don't have a lot of sole, and we're going to discuss that much more, do not do this, okay? Okay, this is when you got a real compact foot with a whole lot of concavity, you know that that horse is growing sole. Okay, we're going to look at a picture where you're going to see just how much sole this horse has in his foot. These pictures don't really show it to you. Okay, so, but this is all sole that grew up with the wall that needed to be removed so that the foot was the proper proportions. Now, I really want you to look at how this looks. Right in here, he has tremendous amount of concavity, even though you really can't see it in these pictures. Okay, but I also want you to look at how, just look at the design. Let's see. You know, this is so you can tell you're getting your walls and stuff even. I have my measurements on the dorsal wall, remember, my line here, here, and here. And let's use this. Okay, look here. See how I've taken the sole out? Okay, but now look at this line around here. Okay, see how I tried to get that very level? When I took that down, again, this is a bowl shape here, and I've just taken off the edge of the bowl right here to make everything uniform around here. Because if you look at wild horses' feet, you'll see a humongous sole ridge around here, and it's very uniform and the same thickness all the way around. Well, sometimes it's thicker in the pillars right here. There's your pillar. And I really believe that the sole was meant to even get thicker here, but not higher, but thicker like this. See? It gets thicker like that. Not higher, but just bigger in the foot here. And if you look at the pictures that Gene Ovanik drew of the sole conformation in the wild horses that he researched, that's what you'll see. You see that, yeah, they got some sole here, but it's really thick right here. Okay, but it's not high. Do you understand the difference? Not high, going up the wall this way. Okay, but just thicker, more condensed right in here. All right. And again, how do you tell if you have sole? You have a very, very concave foot. They'll usually retain sole and it'll pull right up here with the wall. Okay, here's another angle of that foot. You can see here the tremendous concavity this horse has. You know, I know that because of the thick frog and the concavity, because of the shape of the internal foot, where the frog corium is, from which the frog grows, the shape of the internal foot, that there's a lot of sole here. So I can take this out. See, to make an even, first of all, the wall grows at the same length, and so there wasn't any sole. Well, this is where was it? You can see where he was starting to break off naturally about down to there. So I'm doing this so I kind of know where my foot is, so I can take my nippers in there and take this wall off evenly all the way around. Let's look at another picture. Okay, you can see the sole tubules, how they run up. See the lines? How they're running straight up? Like that. You can see the ends of them. Here, look at that white line that's really yellow there. Doesn't it look like rubber cement when they're all pristine and nice and all that? This is a wall of sole here. Pretty interesting, huh? I'm looking at this clock here. I've been talking 51 minutes and I still haven't got to everything I want to just on this sole. But see, you need to see and understand this, because that's what we're all trying to get. We're trying to get soles like wild horses. Is not that correct? And all that is an anatomically correct sole. All right. So let's look at some more pictures. Now, can you see the depth? Look at all the frog on that right there. And then can you see the depth right in here? You got to have some depth in here in front of the frog. Let's keep going. See there, you in pictures like that you can't really tell. You can see this is flat here, but there's cupping here, but we'll see it greater. Okay, there you can see it more. See all the cupping. See the internal foot sits about here where my arrow is, underneath that rim of sole here. But again, what I'm doing here is on a horse that has good feet, where the walls are very compact. He's got great angle, and he is growing sole like crazy. And the sole tubules at the right angle, growing up like this, not laid over and growing forward, where you have thin sole. I took lots of pictures because I just thought his sole was awesome. Just kind of look at those. Okay, now here's where I've nipped off. I believe I've nipped off his wall here, level with the sole. Okay, so I'm probably gonna just Mustang roll this here. By the time all is said and done, his Mustang roll will begin here and end underneath. We'll see. Can't remember what I did exactly. Now you can see here how easy it is for the pillars to get longer than the toe. You see right here? And higher. Do you see what I mean by higher? Do you see how this goes lower right here, the wall? Yeah, it's very easy to get this pillar area high. Now look, It's very important. Look here. Let me get the screen draw. Okay. Look here. Here's your intertubular horn line. Okay, now I was trying to get the pillar right. See, this is why it's so great to look at pictures. And yet I still didn't get that pillar low enough underneath. Because the sole grows thicker in the pillar. Because that's the way the foot is designed. And so you can see the ridges. See the ridges? See them? Not as bad as they can get on some horses. Okay? But when I did that foot, I could have taken the sole in the pillar down a little more to where, well, that's not very good. I could have taken the sole in the pillar down a little more so that when I nipped that foot, it was just more like this. See? A little bit more. Okay. But I think I get it from the bottom anyway. See? And I'm noticing, like in a lot of the horses I do, okay, ridges in the pillars that you can't even hardly see. Like these I didn't even see before really. But I'm seeing them better and more now, and that way you know that you're trimming high in your pillar. Some of my older pictures, I look at them and I'm pretty flabbergasted. Why didn't I see that? Okay, here's the picture of the bottom of the foot. You can see where I've nipped the wall off to where I scribed down the sole. Do you see that? Now, again, this video is not to teach you to go out, run out there and do this to your horse. I want you to finish this whole class and then make wise decisions about where to do this and how to do this. So look how thick the wall is here in the toe. And look, here's something. Look how nice and round the foot is. Well, feet are not round. If I would have taken, let's see, let's get a deal. If I would have taken, when I scribed out this sole, if I would have taken more and taken it down lower, from here to here, and from here to here, then this foot would be shaped more like this. Toes are not round. The horse's foot is not round. We leave the pillars high and it creates a round looking toe, and because it's an epidemic of leaving high pillars, we think these toes are round, but when we look at the internal foot, the shape of the internal foot is not round. It is oval. See? Just a minute. We'll look at more internal feet to see that. Okay, the true shape of the foot is like this. True shape of the foot is like this. Do you see that? This is all false. If we were to just rasp this down and blend it in with the height of the wall here and here, we would see this all reduce in here to where the foot and the sole would be shaped just like that. And just leaving that little bit, you'd be surprised how much it leads to hoof distortion and how much it prevents what is distorted from coming back the way it should, because these things are just sticking out here, holding everything in place that you are trying to correct. So I would take a rasp and I would lower this, which I think I did. We'll find out. Okay, here is where I have nipped off all the wall. Alright, I just recorded this and realized I didn't have it on record. That just bums me out so much. Here's where I've nipped off all the wall. All right. And what I want to show you here is how even in scribing the foot here, I left the pillar high because I still have it in my head that that this sole ridge around here has to be the same, uniform, but that's not the way it's supposed to be. Okay, it's the pillar sole here is thicker, and so what I've actually, a horse's foot is not round. We've been told they're round, but if you look at the internal foot, the horse's foot is oval. Okay, so correctly, this horse's foot is shaped like this. That's not very good. Let me redo that. Correctly. See how nice and round that looks? Correctly. Now, that's not correct at all. Let's do it again. Correctly. Here's the toe. That's more the shape of the horse's foot, but it's long. I left too much sole here in the pillar area. And what happens is this area gets high. If I was to take this down, it would widen this. While it will change the shape of the foot here, it will also widen the sole, the look of the sole in the pillar here. So what I do, I take a rasp and I blend this in with this, and I take this down more so that my foot is not round per se. Okay. But this is just showing you how I took down the sole, scribed down the sole, and then trimmed the wall to the level of the sole. There's another picture of it. Okay, here you can see how deep the frog is set in the foot right here, and how this wall just grows up like this, how high it is. And I can already look here and see that my pillar is high over here. Higher over here than it is over here. Taking pictures is good. You really see a lot of details. See, another way I can tell is look how thick this line of sole is from here to here, but how I didn't take as much over here on this side. Yeah, I could have taken more here. Well, I could have taken more here, just in the pillar area, blend into here, and more here, for sure. But I could do that with a rasp as well. Let's look at his foot. There's his foot. There you can see my lines. Again, look at the compression. Look at how this is going up like that line. See, that shouldn't be. It should be going like this. Should start here. Should be going like that. See that? But how are these lines going? They're going like that. But with the trim I'm doing now, their feet are changing, and that will change. High pillars also cause Okay, if that's like that there, this is what happens up here. As you relieve the pillar here, and the wall is not jammed here, it'll start to relax. High pillars also cause coronary band jamming, and for they twerk the capsule. Twerk. Why am I using that word? What an abomination. Okay, where am I at? Let's get out of there. My line. See, now again, why am I drawing these lines? Because I want to make sure I'm getting the wall shorter from here to here and not the same length as this wall, because that is the shape of the internal foot. It goes shorter as you go around. You know, it's not the same length here. Where are we at? Okay, there you can really see where he's been high in that pillar. So I need to take this pillar off. I don't know if I took it off enough even when I did the trim. Because I don't look at, it's later I look at the pictures. See, if this wall was to relax, the hairline would be clear down like this. Okay, you can't tell what's going on from the bottom of the foot all the time because of all the wall that gets jammed up this way and creates an imbalance. And I can even see the imbalance in his foot here, his leg, now that I'm looking at it. It's like if you had a wedge of something stuck in your shoe when you get a high pillar like this. That is really interesting. And there's another horse there I do. Okay, see how he's jammed up here? You can't really see it in person. You got to see it in pictures. Not a lot, but... Okay, now look at the shape of the foot. How it tapers off this way. It's not round. You see that? It's not round. That's where we've really been screwing up, thinking that these horses' toes are round. Round would be this coming out here. And we got a round foot, and that makes a high pillar with the sole all attached to it, so that you think that's what the foot looks like. Okay, there you can really see the sole, the depth of the sole compared to the frog. Go back. What did I do here? Okay, I've rasped this clean now a little bit. He had some separation in the toe. You see that? Okay. See how I brought this pillar down? And this pillar, see, is the foot round now? No, it's not. Now look at, I've tried to keep the level of the wall the same here, or the thickness from the white line to here. Got a little thicker over here, but that's probably because he has a thicker wall over here. See, you see the rasp marks going across that pillar? See, bringing it down, blended it in with the side here. See the nice clean white line I got here? See my ugly gouges in the sole? I shouldn't have done that. Better to wait than do gouging. Don't gouge. But look at the shape of the foot. This is more the shape of the internal foot, which is oval, not round. When you allow these pillars to grow high and long, it forms a round foot here. And then this white line is out there, and you don't even know your foot is distorted in there. See how deep, that's kind of blurry, but see how deep the frog is? And how much sole you got here? There, I got my thumb in there. And I got a thick frog on this horse. There, again, look at the line. Look at how the sole tubules are growing, straight up and down. When they lay over and grow forward, you ain't got no sole. There, I've done my little Mustang roll there. I still think I could have taken this pillar down more so that all this would drop. See, I don't really want that going like that. I think I could have relieved that pillar more. You're all probably going, well, it looks really good to me. Yeah, I could have relieved that pillar more on both sides. But I didn't want to make him sore either, so this was good for now. And here's the thing, you do this, and then, like I did the other horse, and I went out yesterday, because I hadn't done his back feet. I did his front feet. There's another horse there I do. And I did the same trim on him. When I come out, there was a lump, a big lump of sole right here sticking out. And I know that I trimmed that horse nice and flat like that. But that shows me that that whole pillar dropped and there was a big lump sticking up in the foot of sole that come out of the foot. And let me tell you what, that horse was really crooked. And he's not as crooked now, because what's happening is they're getting these big lumps on one side up in the capsule that's holding the foot up on one side and creating a medial lateral imbalance in the foot. And it's all hidden up behind what looks to be nice sole and wall, but it's in the pillar. And I'm going to show you this with clay. We're going to build a foot. I'm going to show you what happens when those pillars get long and it's all hidden up by nice looking sole and white line. And how it creates a horrible imbalance internally with the foot. Okay. There is the trimmed result. Again, I wish I wouldn't have put them gouge marks in there. That looks pretty bad. Okay, now, foot looked kind of flat there, didn't it? But it's not. That's just an optical illusion. Do you see the sole ridge? Do you see the concavity that the sole ridge has developed in the foot? See how I do my Mustang roll all the way back to here? Okay, do you see the concavity? You see that thick sole? See how thick the frog is? See how thick the sole is? And there's a big cup right here. If you haven't got that, you got a flat foot and thin sole. Don't necessarily be digging it out. I mean, if your toe is clear up to here, we'll show you how to rock her and bring it back so it starts. When the wall starts coming back and retaining the sole underneath, you'll start getting thick ridge of sole. Okay, here's where I do the other foot. We'll discuss this foot in the next trim because there was a lot of interesting things going on with this foot that you need to know. All right, that's enough for now.